All right, thank you guys. Welcome to our NBA video here today for Wednesday, April 14th. Happy hump day to you. Weekend's right around the corner. My name is Brock Page and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. Now guys, I'm feeling real good this morning because we went 4-0 with a push in our 5 premium sports picks on my Patreon website yesterday. That's going to put us at 7-2 with a push in our last 10 premium picks on that Patreon page. We're also 2-0 in our last 2 NBA tier package picks on that Patreon site as well. And the good news is this, we have another NBA tier package pick going off here this evening. We currently have over 1,300 members who are signed up and active on that page. And if you want to see which one of these YouTube picks I'm actually betting on personally, a link for that site is in the description section below. That's patreon.com/BrockPage. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to dive into our early game here. I'm talking about the Bucks versus the Timberwolves. 4:30 p.m. Eastern tip-off in Minnesota. Now, the Milwaukee Bucks are -9, totals 236 flat. If you like Minnesota in an upset on their home court, they're plus 325 on the money line. Now, unfortunately for those backing the T-Wolves today, they may have to go to work without the efforts of Karl Anthony Towns. He's listed as questionable for today's contest. The T-Wolves have also lost 7 out of their last 10. And they also find themselves 27 games below 500. Now, out of their 27 home games this year, the T-Wolves have gotten a W in just 9 of them. They're taking on a Milwaukee squad who may have to go to work without Giannis Antetokounmpo themselves. But I do think the Bucks are good enough to take down a Minnesota team who's possibly playing without their best player. Now, Milwaukee's 13 games above 500, and they actually rank in the top 5 defensively in defensive field goal percentage. Chris Middleton scoring over 20 points a night for Milwaukee, 6 rebounds, 5 assists for the forward. Meanwhile, Drew Holiday scoring 17 a night himself, 4 rebounds, 5 assists for Holiday. Now, total-wise, 2 out of Milwaukee's last 3 stayed under the number, 4 and 3 to the under in their last 7. Meanwhile, the Timberwolves saw 5 out of their last 9 stay under the total themselves, 15 and 12 to the under as the official home team. I'm going to lean toward the Milwaukee Bucks -9. And the under 236. All right, next ball game. It is going to be Nets versus the Sixers, 7 p.m. Eastern start time. The Philadelphia 76ers are -7, totals 227.5. Phillies won 5 out of their last 7 ball games, 20-5 straight up at the Wells Fargo Center. The Sixers have done a real nice job covering the point spread at home as well this year. They're covering 64% of their home games. And they actually find themselves 33-21 against the spread overall for the season, one of the better covering teams in the entire association. Now, the Sixers are going to look to out-rebound the Nets here today. Philly's in the top 5 in offensive rebounding, top 10 in defensive rebounding as well. Joel Embiid is scoring over 29.5 points per contest, 11 boards, 3 assists for the center. Meanwhile, Tobias Harris is scoring 20 points a game himself, 7 rebounds, 3 assists for Toby. The Sixers defensively are allowing just 108 points per contest. Now they're taking on a Brooklyn squad who may have to go to work here without KD and Kyrie. Both are listed as questionable. And of course, James Harden, he's still out this evening with a hammy. Now the Nets are one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA right now. They're in the bottom 3 defensively in points allowed on the road. They're giving up nearly 118 points a game when they travel. Brooklyn also has a losing record against the spread overall for the season. When it comes to the total in this one, Brooklyn 60% to the under in their last 10 ball games. Really not sure who's going to do the scoring for them here tonight. Meanwhile, the Sixers saw their last 5 straight stay under the total themselves, 80% to the under in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward the Philadelphia 76ers -7 and the under 227.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Cavaliers versus the Hornets, 7 o'clock East. The Charlotte Hornets are -3.5, totals 213 flat. Now we may see a little buyback on the sides in this one. Charlotte's leading scorer, Terry Rozier, he's listed as questionable here tonight with a knee injury. And of course, remember, Gordon Hayward's still out indefinitely with a foot. So there's a lot of potential points Charlotte could be leaving on the table here tonight. Having said that, though, probably didn't see that one coming. Having said that, though, guys, they're playing a Cavaliers team who can't buy a win right now. And Charlotte's actually done a pretty nice job against the number in their last 10 ball games. They're 6-4 against the spread in their last 10, 14-10 against the spread on their home court. Now, the Hornets' strength has been their ability to play defense at home. They're in the top 5 defensively in points allowed at home, top 5 in defending the three ball in that same category. The Hornets allow 108 points a game at the Spectrum Center, and they hold their opponents to just 33% shooting from beyond the arc there. Now, Devontae Graham scoring 14 points a game for Charlotte, 2 rebounds, 5 assists for the guard. Meanwhile, Miles Bridges is averaging double-digit points a night himself, 5 rebounds and a couple assists for Bridges. Probably didn't think that when you turned on this podcast here today, you'd be hearing about Miles Bridges. But anyway, they're taking on a Cleveland squad who lost 7 out of their last 9. And they've had a really tough time getting the win on the road this year. The Cavaliers won just 8 of 27 road games, and they successfully covered the point spread in just 33% of those contests. Now, Cleveland's currently 15 games below 500, and they rank dead last in the league in scoring. They're averaging just 99 points a game when they travel, and they're making only 30% of their three-pointers on the road as well. Now, top scorers Colin Sexton and Darius Garland, they're both listed as questionable for tonight's action. That is certainly bad news for Cleveland fans and Cleveland backers. Now, total-wise, Cleveland 16-11 to the under on the road. Charlotte 16-8 to the under at the Spectrum Center. I'm going to lean toward the Charlotte Hornets -3.5 and the under 213. Next ball game. It is going to be Spurs versus the Raptors, 7:30 p.m. Eastern start time. The San Antonio Spurs are -4.5. Totals 221, juice to the over. San Antonio is on a 2-game winning streak, 3-0 against the number in their last 3 as well. The Spurs are one of the better road covering teams in the NBA right now as well. They're 16-7 against the spread in those 23 road games. That's good for 70% in that particular category. Now, San Antonio's done really well on the defensive end of the court when they travel. They're in the top 10 defensively in points allowed on the road, top 10 in defending the three ball in that same category. DeMar DeRozan scoring 21 points a game, 4 rebounds, 7 assists for the forward. Meanwhile, DeJounte Murray scoring nearly 16 points a night himself, 6 rebounds, 5 assists for Murray. Now they're taking on a Toronto team who lost their last 2 straight, 3-7 straight up in their last 10. Now the Raptors have also failed to cover the point spread in 14 out of their last 18 ball games. The Toronto Raptors, they just really don't rebound well at all. They're dead last in the association in offensive rebounding, bottom 10 in defensive rebounding as well. The Raptors are currently 13 games below 500, and they've gotten the W in just 11 out of 26 home games. Now, Van Fleet is out indefinitely. Harris, Watson, and Bembry, they're all questionable as well. And when it comes to the number in this one, 6 out of Toronto's last 9 ball games did actually get over the number, throwing out the Atlanta contest. Meanwhile, the Spurs saw their last 3 straight get over the total themselves, 80% to the over in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward the San Antonio Spurs -4.5 and the over 221. Next ball game, it is going to be Magic versus the Bulls, 8 p.m. Eastern showdown. I'm not sure if I would actually call it a showdown, but it is a game, and it's happening. The Chicago Bulls are -9.5, numbers 217. You know what? I just jinxed it. Watch it be postponed or canceled because of COVID or protesting. But anyway, it's a game. I think it's going to happen. Bulls 9.5, number 217. Despite laying nearly double digits in this spot here, Chicago's been one of the more lackluster home teams this year. They've won only 10 of 26 home games, and they rank in the bottom 5 in home defensive field goal percentage. Now, the Bulls allow 113 points a game at the United Center. They currently find themselves in the middle of a 3-game losing streak, just 3-9 straight up in their last dozen. Now, they're taking on an Orlando squad who really hasn't been all too good this season themselves. Having said that, though, they do have an uncanny ability to cover the point spread. As a matter of fact, they actually successfully covered the number in 6 out of their last 9, throwing out the San Antonio game. Despite being 20 games below 500 in the win column, Orlando currently has a winning record against the spread when they travel. They've actually rebounded quite well on the offensive end of the court. They're in the top 5 in the NBA in road offensive rebounding. And despite the absence of Otto Porter and possibly Bamba and Okike this evening, the Magic's led by Terrence Ross, who's scoring over 15 points a night, along with 3.5 rebounds and a couple assists. Now, Cole Anthony's also averaging double-digit points for the Magic as well, 4.5 rebounds and 3 assists a night for the guard. Orlando also ranks in the top 10 in the NBA defensively in second quarter points allowed. Now, total-wise, the markets have really over-adjusted for these Orlando games, and believe it or not, 5 out of their last 7 contests got over the line. And for as bad as they've been offensively, Orlando's still 13-12 to the over in their 25 road games. A lot of people probably don't associate overs with Orlando, but it is what it is. Those are the stats. Meanwhile, the Bulls saw 3 out of their last 4 get over the number themselves. I'm going to lean toward the underdog Orlando Magic plus 9.5 and the over 217. Next ball game, Clippers, Pistons, 8 p.m. Eastern start time. The LA Clippers are -8. Total is 218.5. Now, Los Angeles might be going to work here this evening without Kawhi Leonard. He's battling a foot injury. But to that I say, no Kawhi, no problem. These guys are in the middle of a 6-game winning streak, and they also went 70% against the number in their last 10. Now, the Clippers currently lead the NBA in shooting the 3 ball. They're making almost 43% of their 3-pointers when they travel. Paul George is scoring 23 points a game, 6 rebounds, 5.5 assists for George. PG is also making over 44% of his 3-pointers. Meanwhile, Marcus Morris is making 48% of his 3 balls as well. Granted, he doesn't shoot a whole lot of them, but a very good 3-point percentage for Morris. He's also averaging 13 points a game along with 4 rebounds. The Clippers are one of the best defensive rebounding teams in the league as well. They're in the top 3 in road defensive rebounding. Now, LA's taking on a Pistons team who lost their last 2 straight, and they may have to play without their leading scorer, Jeremy Grant. He's questionable with a knee. Also, Magruder and Smith, they're both out for Detroit as well. The Pistons are currently 22 games below 500, and they really do a poor job of getting on the board. They're in the bottom 3 in home scoring, bottom 5 in home offensive field goal percentage. Now, the Pistons are averaging just 106 points a game at the Little Caesars Arena. When it comes to the scoring in this one, 4 out of Detroit's last 6 somehow got over the posted number, 6-3 to the over in their last 9. Meanwhile, the Clippers saw their last 3 straight get over the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward the LA Clippers -8 and the over 218.5. Next contest, we're going to take a look at the Knicks versus the Pelicans, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. The New Orleans Pelicans are -2.5, totals 219. And if you like the New York Knicks in an upset on the road here, they're plus $120 for some money line cash. Now, the Knicks have struggled to get the W on the road this season. Out of New York's 28 road games, they picked up the victory just 11 times. The Knicks are also one of the worst road scoring teams in the NBA right now. They're in the bottom 3 in road scoring. Now, New York, they're averaging only 103 points a game when they travel. They're taking on a New Orleans Pelicans team who, right now, playing some really good basketball. They're on a 3-game winning streak, and they currently have a winning record at the Smoothie King Center. The Pelicans are amongst the best rebounding teams in the association. They're arguably the best rebounding team in the NBA right now. They currently lead the association in defensive rebounding. They're also in the top 3 in offensive rebounding as well. Zion Williamson's averaging over 7 rebounds a game for New Orleans. He's also the team's leading scorer with over 26.5 points a game. Brandon Ingram's also dropping 24 a night himself, along with 5 rebounds and 4 assists. The Pelicans are in the top 10 in the NBA in scoring on average per contest. They're getting 116 points a game on their home court. Now, total-wise, New Orleans saw 5 out of their last 8 get over the number, 21-8 to the over at the Smoothie King. Meanwhile, 4 out of New York's last 6 somehow got over the number themselves. I'm going to lean toward the New Orleans Pelicans minus 2.5 and the over 219. Next matchup, getting into the 9 o'clock slate here, I'm talking about the Warriors taking on the Thunder. 9 p.m. Eastern start time. The Golden State Warriors are minus 11, totals 223, laying double digits on the road here. But as bad as OKC is, and believe me, they're rotten, we're still looking at one of the worst road teams in the NBA in this Golden State squad. The Warriors have been victorious in only 9 out of 27 road games. They also failed to cover the point spread 18 times during that 27-game stretch. The Warriors simply cannot rebound on the road. They're dead last in the league in road defensive rebounding, bottom 10 in road offensive rebounding as well. Now, Kelly Oubre is doubtful, Pascal's still out, and Wiseman's done for the year. The Warriors give up nearly 117 points a night on the road, and they also rank in the bottom 10 in road scoring. Now, they're taking on an OKC squad who got the job done last night against the spread versus the Utah Jazz. They comfortably covered a 16.5-point spread in that contest. And once again, as bad as OKC can be, they're actually a better rebounding basketball team than Golden State. OKC is currently in the top 10 in the NBA in offensive rebounding. Now, of course, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's still out. Muscala and Pokusevski are questionable. So with that in mind, Lou Dort, he's going to have to lead the charge here this evening. Dort's averaging 13 points a game along with 3 rebounds, in that particular stat line. Meanwhile, Darius Bazley, he looks, to be fairly healthy right now himself. He's scoring double digits a game along with 7 boards. And when it comes to the total, 5 out of OKC's last 9 got over the line. 17-11 to the over at the Chesapeake. Meanwhile, the Warriors saw 5 out of their last 9 get over the total themselves, throwing out the Denver game. So I'm going to lean toward the underdog OKC Thunder, plus 11, keeping that one close, and the over 223. Next contest, Pacers Rockets, 9 o'clock Eastern start time. The Indiana Pacers are minus 5, totals 233.5. Now, as much as the Pacers have struggled this year, they've actually been playing their best basketball on the road. They're 16-12 straight up away from their home court. And they're actually one of the better road scoring teams in the league. Now, Indiana's currently in the top 10 in road scoring, top 10 in road offensive field goal percentage. Malcolm Brogdon is dropping over 21 points a night, 4 rebounds, 5 assists for the guard. Meanwhile, Domantas Sabonis, he's scoring nearly 20 a game himself, 11.5 boards and 6 assists for the big man. Now, the Pacers are averaging 115 points a game when they travel. They're taking on a pitiful Houston Rockets club who lost 8 out of their last 9. No real surprise there. The Rockets are currently 36 games under 500 right now, and they've gotten the W in only 7 of 26 home games. Now, Augustin, Brown, and House, they're all out of the lineup. When it comes to the total, Houston's gone 18-8 to the under at the Toyota Center. Pacers saw 5 out of their last 9 stay under the line. Throwing out the Clipper game, I'm going to lean toward the Indiana Pacers minus 5 and the under 233.5. The next contest, Mavericks versus the Grizzlies, 9:30 Eastern tip. The Dallas Mavericks are minus 2, totals 225.5. Despite a little bit of a skid here recently, the Dallas Mavericks still have been victorious in 6 out of their last 9 ball games. A nice little stretch of contest for them. They also went 6-3 against the spread during that span as well. Now, Dallas has played really good defensively all season long. They're in the top 3 in road defensive field goal percentage, top 10 defensively in points allowed as well. Luka Doncic is scoring over 28.5 points a night, 8 rebounds, 8 assists for the big point guard. Meanwhile, Kristaps Porzingis is scoring almost 21 points a game himself, along with 9 rebounds. Now, they're taking on a Memphis squad who lost 2 out of their last 3, and they're going to still have to go to work without Winslow and Melton. Now, the Grizzlies haven't played their best basketball at the FedEx Forum either. They currently have a losing home record on the year right now, and they also rank in the bottom 10 in the NBA in home scoring as well. And speaking of the scoring, when it comes to the number in this one, Memphis is 18-10 to the under at the FedEx Forum. Dallas is 17-11 to the under when they travel. I'm going to lean toward the Dallas Mavericks -2 and the under 225.5. The next contest, it is going to be Heat versus the Nuggets, 10 p.m. Eastern tip-off. The Denver Nuggets are -5, totals 212. Now, some real bad news for Nuggets fans. Jamal Murray tore his ACL. Looks like his season is done for. If his season isn't done for, we're not going to see him for a really long time. Now, the Nuggets have also done a fairly bad job covering the point spread at the Ball Arena this year. They've covered in only 12 out of 28 home games. Denver's also in the bottom 10 defensively in third quarter points allowed. So as good as they've been, there's some troublesome areas, especially with this new look team without Jamal Murray. Now they're taking on a Miami squad who's won 6 out of their last 8 ball games themselves. And they've really climbed their way back into the playoff hunt. A lot of adversity this year, but they're back in the mix, guys. They're currently 2 games above 500 right now, and they played some really good defense this year. Matter of fact, Miami's one of the best defensive teams in the entire NBA. They're in the top 3 in points allowed, top 5 in defending the 3-ball on the road. This Miami club is allowing just 105 points a game when they travel. Jimmy Butler scoring 21 points a game, 7 rebounds, 7 assists for the multi-time All-Star. Meanwhile, Bam Adebayo scoring 19 points a game himself, along with 9 rebounds and 5 assists. Miami leads the NBA in third quarter points allowed on the road. But when it comes to the total in this one, I actually think that number aggressively over-adjusted to the absence of Murray. The Nuggets still have the Joker, who scores a ton of points. And the Nuggets are also 17-11 to the over at the Ball Arena. Meanwhile, the Miami Heat saw 6 out of their last 9 get over the line themselves, throwing out the Phoenix game. I'm going to lean toward the underdog Miami Heat +5 and the over 212. With that, guys, we're going to dive into our next and final matchup of the show. It is going to be Wizards versus the Kings, 10 o'clock East. The Washington Wizards are -2, totals 240.5. Now, Washington, they've won 3 out of their last 4 ball games, and that includes a 125-point effort against the Utah Jazz. Now, the Wizards average 114 points a night, and they actually have a winning record against the spread when traveling. Bradley Beal's dropping 31 a game, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Meanwhile, Russell Westbrook scoring over 21.5 a night himself, 10 rebounds, 10 assists for Russ. The Wizards are in the top 3 in the NBA in second quarter scoring. They're taking on a struggling Sacramento squad who lost their they lost their 7th straight ball game the other day. They lost their last 7 straight, and they're also just 2-7 against the number in their last 9 outings as well. Buddy Hield is questionable today. Rashawn Holmes is doubtful. Sacramento's pretty bad covering the point spread at the Golden One Center. They've covered in only 10 out of 27 home games, and they rank dead last in home defensive field goal percentage. The Kings give up nearly 120 points a game at the Golden One. They're also letting their opponents hit nearly 41% of their three-pointers there as well. Now, total-wise, Sacramento could potentially be missing some offensive prowess here this evening. They also saw 6 out of their last 9 ball games stay under the line. Meanwhile, 6 out of Washington's last 9 stayed under the line themselves. Throwing out the Utah game, I'm going to lean toward the Washington Wizards -2 and the under 240.5. And with that, guys, we're going to hop into our quick pick recap powered to you by my Patreon website. And so with that, let's go ahead and jump into it. I like Milwaukee -9 under 236. Philadelphia -7 under 227.5. Charlotte -3.5 under 213. San Antonio -4.5 over 221. Orlando Magic +9.5 over 217. LA Clippers -8 over 218.5. New Orleans Pelicans -2.5 over 219. OKC Thunder +11 over 223. Indiana -5 under 233 and a hook. Dallas Mavericks -2 under 225.5. Miami +5 over 212. And before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we went 4-0 with a push in our 5 premium sports picks on my Patreon website yesterday. We're also 2-0 in our last 2 NBA tier package picks on that Patreon page as well. I'm going to lean toward the Washington Wizards -2 and the under 240.5. And with that, guys, we're going to hop into some shout outs to our top 10 YouTube commenters over the past couple of days or so. Shout out to B. Coker, Carlos Lopez, Words of Wisdoms, Julio Rodriguez, Chuck Pinter, Chris Justin, Evan Poole, Paul B., Michael Howd, and last but certainly not least, got to give a shout out to my good friend, Jake Perrin. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. If you guys decide to get a package here today, just keep in mind, Patreon's going to bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do get a package here today, you're actually going to get access to the content you paid for all the way through the end of April. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Wednesday to you. Happy hump day to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.